Hey, my name is Clive Johnson. I'm a Principal Sales Engineer at Salesforce.com, and I'm going to spend a few minutes talking to you about Headless Flows, which is a new capability that's become available in the Spring 14 release. And I'm going to give you some a business request. The customer requested that when we're on the opportunity, when the opportunity gets closed, they want you to look at the opportunity products and then create revenue records for those same products. Now this can be done using Apex and triggers and SSE requests, but of course each of those things take time and specialist knowledge, etc. Or you can spend no more than 30 minutes using Headless Flows. So what am I using in these Headless Flows? I'm using concepts such as loop, fast lookup and fast create. And there's a couple of notes here. These are available in SDO. There's a couple of BT settings, black tab settings you need to set up. And they're currently available as a trial basis for customers on our Spring 14 release. So that's the business scenario that we're trying to work through. So here I am in the application. I'm on an opportunity that we're working with. It's actually got a close date here of 4/25, so I'm right at the very end of the sales process. And I've already added a few products to this particular opportunity, some Intel products here with quantities and total prices. And if you just make a mental note of these prices here, 3,000, 2,500, 2,800, because I'm going to be generating revenue lines with those exact same values, those exact same products. So the business case was they want to be able to say, well, when I close the opportunity, so I'm going to go to close one, hit the OK button, and then hit the save button. They want to be able to create some revenue records with some start dates, end dates, and the exact same products and the exact same revenues. And I put a comment in there created via flow trigger. So that's the business case. It's pretty easy to demonstrate, very powerful, because what we're doing here is we're creating multiple records. We can also update multiple records, but the key step here is the fact that we're creating multiple records just from one trigger. So the triggers themselves, I've got an area here called the flow. So I go into the flow area, hit the open button. And this gives me my little flow designer, and it shows just 5 steps here. It's a very simple process. The first step here is we want to do a quick lookup and look at the opportunity products. So the opportunity products are actually in a field called, or in a table called opportunity line item, and I'm going to store them in an array called S-object collection opportunity product, and I'm going to store some of those values from that opportunity product because I want to copy those informations across into the revenue records. And then I'm going to go through a loop exercise here. So I'm going to loop through that array, that S-object collection. And these arrays, these collections are actually really clever because when it goes through the loop, it creates the array, and for each line of the array, there's a thing called a loop variable. So I can actually look at the records, look at the individual record within the array. So in my example, there were 3 opportunity product records. I can look at each of those individual opportunity product records and create associated revenue records. And that's what I'm doing in the next step here. So I've got some assignments taking place here. So I'm setting revenue values here. So I've got this S-object variable here with comments. So I'm creating my comments created by a flow trigger. I've got the S-object revenue value here of end date. The opportunity value is set to the calling opportunity value. The revenue is going to be set to the total price of the corresponding opportunity line item. Start date will be the close date of the opportunity. The product will be the product from the opportunity product. So just hit the OK button. So I'm assigning all those values. And then here's a little trick. I'm actually going to assign those revenue records from this S-object variable into this S-object collection called create revenue. And I'm using the add operator. So I'm going to add, each time I go through the loop, I'm going to add one record into that S-object collection create revenue. So I'm starting with one S-object collection and I'm finishing with a different one. And this is one of those little tricks I found out how to use the looping capability and the create capability. And then the very last step here is to actually do the write. So I'm actually going to write away this S-object collection create revenue. So I'm going to create those revenue records. So that's the actual flow. So it took just a short while to create those flows. And just for your information here, I got just a small number of variables. I got my S-object variables. I've got 3 variables there. I've got my S-object collection variables. Just got 2 assignments, 1 loop, 1 fast lookup, one fast create. So there's very few elements in here that we need to worry about. So once we've created our flow, we then need to come in here and create the new thing called the flow trigger. And this is the flow trigger I created, and I've hit the edit button. It actually shows me, just got to give it some name here, select the flow that you just created, and then I can actually set the flow variables. And I want to make sure that I'm going to be working with the ID of the opportunity I'm working with is going to be passed through. So you can set the variable of the opportunity to the value of this, which is the current value of the opportunity ID, which is quite a neat little piece of information there. And then once you've created your flow trigger, you can then put that flow trigger within your regular workflow. Because in workflow, as we used to have it, they were just 4 actions. We had task, email alert, field update, and outbound message. There's now a new area here called flow trigger. So I've created this flow trigger called create revenue records. And I got the rule criteria, opportunity stage equals closed 1. So that's all we need to do with respect to creating the flow, create the flow trigger, add the flow trigger into a revenue, test it all out, make sure it works. So from start to finish, just takes maximum of 30 minutes once you do your little bit of typing. If you've got any questions, please feel free to come back to me. Name again is Clive Johnson. I'm a Principal Sales Engineer here at salesforce.com. Thank you.